I never imagined the coldest metal I would ever feel would not be from a stranger, but orchestrated by the woman I married. There I was, face pressed against the wet grass of our front lawn, handcuffs cutting into my wrists, while red and blue lights painted our quiet suburban street. Neighbors stood on their porches, phones raised recording my humiliation. And when I looked up at our bedroom window, there she stood. Jessica, my wife of 4 years. Holding her phone camera pointed directly at me, wearing a smile that made my blood run cold. I never thought the woman I married would find it funny to watch me get arrested. Before we dive into what happened next, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments below. If this story resonates with you, or if you have ever dealt with someone who crossed boundaries in the name of a joke, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. What happened next changed everything. Let me take you back to where it all started. Jessica and I met 6 years ago in Denver, Colorado. We were both climbing the corporate ladder and marketing young professionals with big dreams and matching ambitions. She had this infectious laugh that could light up any room. I fell hard and fast. We married after 2 years of dating, bought a charming craftsman house in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon, and I genuinely believed we were building something beautiful together. The first 2 years of marriage were everything I hoped for. We traveled to Costa Rica, hiked the Columbia River Gorge every weekend, hosted dinner parties where our friends envied our chemistry. Jessica got promoted to senior brand manager. I became creative director at my firm. Life felt complete. But somewhere around year 3, things shifted. Jessica discovered TikTok and Instagram Reels. At first it was harmless. Funny videos of our dog cooking experiments, couples dancing. I even joined in, sometimes thinking it was a cute way to document our life together. Then the pranks started. The first one happened about 6 months before that terrible night. I was in the middle of a crucial presentation with potential clients worth $200,000 to our agency when my phone kept buzzing. Jessica was calling repeatedly. I finally stepped out, heart pounding, and answered. She was sobbing hysterically, barely able to speak. She said she had been in a car accident, that the car was totaled, that she was scared. I abandoned that meeting, told my boss there was a family emergency, and drove 80 miles per hour across town. When I got to the location she sent, I found her standing next to her perfectly intact car phone in hand, filming my panicked face as I ran toward her. She laughed and yelled, "Gotcha, this is going to get so many views." I was furious. That meeting cost me a major account. But when I confronted her, she said I was overreacting, that it was just harmless fun. 3 months later came prank number 2. I came home from work on a Tuesday evening, and Jessica was sitting at the kitchen table crying into her hands. She told me she had been fired, that her boss had called her incompetent in front of the entire team, that she did not know how we would pay the mortgage. I held her all night, reassured her we would figure it out together, called my parents to see if they could lend us money short term. The next morning I woke to find her making pancakes, humming cheerfully. When I asked about job hunting, she laughed and said, "Oh, I was not really fired, gotcha, it was just a prank." She showed me her Instagram story from the night before, captioned "Best Actress Award goes to me. Hubby totally fell for it," with laughing emojis. I felt sick. She had manipulated my emotions for content. The third major prank happened just 1 month before the night that ended everything. I came home and saw text messages on her phone from an unknown number. The preview on her lock screen read, "I cannot wait to see you again. Last night was incredible." My stomach dropped. When I asked her about it, she acted defensive, then tearful, then finally burst into laughter. "Relax, it is content for my channel. I sent those texts to myself." She had staged an entire fake affair to film my reaction. I told her clearly, firmly, that these pranks hurt, that they crossed boundaries, that I needed them to stop. She rolled her eyes and said I was too sensitive, that everyone does this online, that I should be supportive of her building her following. Her account had grown to 45,000 followers. People commented that her pranks were hilarious, that I was a good sport. But I did not feel like a good sport. I felt like a prop. Then came Friday, September 15th. I had been away on a 3-day business trip to Seattle. The meetings ran late, and I caught the last flight back to Portland, landing at 9:30 in the evening. I was exhausted, drained from presentations and networking dinners, wanting nothing more than my own bed. I pulled into our driveway at exactly 10:03 p.m., parked in the garage like always, and used my key to enter through the front door. The house was dark. I assumed Jessica had gone to bed early. I flipped on the hallway light, set my suitcase down by the stairs, and loosened my tie. That is when I heard them. Sirens. Faint at first, then growing louder, closer. Within 2 minutes, 3 police cruisers screeched to a stop in front of our house. Blue and red lights strobed across our quiet street, illuminating confused faces of neighbors stepping onto their porches. My heart hammered. Had there been a break-in nearby, an emergency, I opened the front door to see what was happening. 4 police officers stood on my lawn, hands on their weapons, flashlights blinding me. "Hands up, get on the ground now!" one of them shouted. I froze, completely disoriented. "What?" "This is my house, I live here," I stammered. "Get on the ground. Do it now." I complied immediately, dropping to my knees, then flat on the wet grass. My suit jacket soaked through. Rough hands pulled my arms behind my back. Cold metal handcuffs clicked around my wrists. "There must be some mistake," I tried to explain, grass in my mouth. "This is my house. I am Avery Martin. I live here." One officer pressed a knee against my back. "We received a 911 call about an intruder. Stay quiet." That is when I looked up and saw her. Jessica stood at our bedroom window, second floor, phone raised, recording. And she was smiling. The officers asked for identification. I told them my wallet was in my back right pocket. One of them retrieved it, examined my driver's license under his flashlight. "Address matches," he said to his partner. Another officer walked to the front door and knocked loudly. "Police, open up." I watched from my position on the ground, still handcuffed, as Jessica took her time coming downstairs. She opened the door, still holding her phone, still filming. "Ma'am, do you know this man?" the lead officer, whose name tag read Martinez, asked her. Jessica glanced at me, then back at the officer. "Oh yeah, that is my husband, Avery." Her voice was casual, almost amused. Officer Martinez stared at her. "So why did you call 911 reporting an intruder breaking into your home?" Jessica actually laughed. "It is just a prank for my social media. Is that not hilarious? Look at everyone's faces." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear crickets chirping, a dog barking somewhere down the street, the hum of the police cruiser engines. Officer Martinez looked at Jessica like she had just confessed to a crime. Because I would learn later she essentially had. "Ma'am, calling 911 for a prank is a serious offense," he said, voice hard. "You wasted police resources and potentially endangered your husband. Do you understand the severity of this?" Jessica's smile faltered slightly. "Come on, it is funny. Look at everyone's faces." She gestured at the neighbors with her phone, but nobody was laughing. Officer Martinez signaled to his partner, who unlocked my handcuffs and helped me to my feet. My knees were scraped, my suit ruined, my hands numb. "Sir, I am deeply sorry about this," Martinez said to me. "You have the right to press charges against your wife for false reporting to emergency services." Jessica's expression shifted from amusement to concern. "Wait, what? It is just a joke." Another officer, a woman with sergeant stripes, explained that false reporting to 911 could result in criminal charges, fines up to several $1,000s, and potentially jail time. I stood there in my soaked, grass-stained suit, looking at my wife, who still held that phone like it was more important than anything happening around us. Neighbors whispered to each other. Someone was definitely recording this entire scene. Mrs. Chen from next door shook her head in disgust. "I need to go inside," I said quietly. Officer Martinez asked if I wanted to file a report tonight. Let me think about it, I replied, but I already knew what I was going to do. Inside, I walked straight to the living room. Jessica followed, starting her excuses immediately. Babe, come on. It was supposed to be funny. A harmless prank. I turned to face her and I could feel something breaking inside me. Funny you had me arrested on our front lawn. She tried to minimize it. They did not arrest you. They just detained you. My voice shook. I was handcuffed face down on the grass with guns potentially drawn on me. Do you know how terrifying that was? Do you understand what could have gone wrong? Jessica crossed her arms defensively. But nothing bad happened. You are fine now. That is when I truly understood. She did not see anything wrong with what she had done. I asked her, did you even think about what could have happened? What if I had panicked? What if the officers thought I was reaching for a weapon? People have been shot for less, Jessica. She was quiet for a moment, but I could tell she still did not really understand. This is not the first time, I continued. I have asked you repeatedly to stop these pranks. You promised you would. My followers love them, she shot back. I am almost at 50,000. Do you not want me to be successful? That question hung in the air. Not at the expense of our marriage and my safety, I said. We argued for over an hour. Round and round, her justifying me, explaining why boundaries matter. Finally, around 1 in the morning, she said, Fine, I will not post the video. Happy now. But she did not apologize. Not really. And I realized that an apology without changed behavior is just manipulation. I told her I needed space and slept on the couch in the living room. But I did not sleep. I could not. I kept replaying the image of her at that window phone raised smiling while I was handcuffed on our lawn. I thought about the past year of escalating pranks, the broken promises, the complete lack of respect for my feelings. Somewhere around 2 in the morning, I opened my laptop and searched for information about false 911 reports in Oregon. I learned it was indeed a crime classified as a misdemeanor punishable by fines up to $2,500 or up to 6 months in jail. Then I searched for divorce lawyers in Portland. I read reviews, compared practices, and saved the contact information for 2 highly rated attorneys. By 3 in the morning, my decision was crystal clear. I could not stay in this marriage. When I woke up Saturday morning at 7, still on the couch, I checked my phone. 23 messages. All from friends, co-workers, even my brother. Every single one was sending me the same thing. A link to TikTok. My heart sank before I even clicked it. Jessica had posted the video, despite promising she would not. Despite everything. The video showed me being handcuffed on our lawn from her perfect vantage point at the bedroom window. You could see the officers surrounding me, the flashing lights, neighbors watching. The caption read, "Best prank ever. Hubby came home and I called cops on him. His face was priceless, LOL." Followed by a string of hashtags including prank video, husband-wife, epic, and funny. The video had 340,000 views, 89,000 likes. I scrolled through the comments. Most people were not laughing. This is dangerous and not funny at all. That is abuse, not a prank. I hope he divorces you. She belongs in jail. But there were also defenders. It is just a joke, people are so sensitive these days. Lighten up, it is hilarious. My boss had seen it. My colleagues, my parents, everyone I knew had now witnessed the most humiliating moment of my life packaged as entertainment. That was the moment. The absolute breaking point. I got up from the couch, showered, and made the first phone call. At 8 in the morning, I called Officer Martinez directly. The station patched me through. I told him I wanted to press charges for false reporting to 911. He said he would forward my statement to the appropriate department and that Jessica would likely receive a summons to appear in court. Thank you for taking this seriously, I told him. What she did was not a joke to me. He understood completely. At 9, I called Daniel Hoffman, one of the divorce attorneys I had researched the night before. He was 42 years old with 16 years of experience in family law. His secretary said he typically did not work Saturdays, but when I briefly explained my situation, she put me through. I told him everything. The history of pranks, the 911 call, the video posted despite her promise. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "You have very strong grounds for divorce. What your wife did constitutes emotional abuse, public humiliation, and reckless endangerment. The fact that she posted the video publicly gives us documented evidence." We scheduled an emergency consultation for that afternoon. At 10, I went downstairs. Jessica was still asleep. I made coffee and toast, acting as normal as possible. I did not want to tip her off. At 2 in the afternoon, I met with Daniel Hoffman at his office in downtown Portland. His office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Willamette River. We sat in leather chairs, and I walked him through 4 years of marriage, the good times that made the betrayal hurt worse, and the escalating pattern that led to this moment. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, Hoffman explained, which means you do not need to prove wrongdoing to divorce. However, given the documented evidence of her behavior, particularly the viral video, we can argue for a favorable division of assets. The public humiliation and emotional distress you have suffered are relevant factors. We discussed everything. The house, which still had a mortgage of $210,000 remaining on a purchase price of $380,000, 2 cars, both with loans, joint bank accounts, retirement funds. I told him I wanted to be fair but firm. I did not want a prolonged battle. I just wanted out. "I can draft the papers today," Hoffman said. "If you are certain about this, I can have them ready for service by tomorrow morning." I did not hesitate. "Do it." We spent another hour going over details. I signed a retainer agreement. When I left his office, I felt lighter than I had in months. For the first time since I could remember, I was taking control of my own life. That evening, I returned home. Jessica was buzzing with excitement. "Babe, the video is going viral. Almost 500,000 views now. I am gaining like 1,000 followers an hour." I forced a smile. "That is great." She did not notice anything different about me. Why would she? She had stopped truly seeing me months ago. I had become nothing more than a character in her content creation. That night, I quietly packed a duffel bag with closed toiletries, important documents. I had already arranged to stay with my best friend Marcus for a few days, until I found my own place. Jessica asked if I was okay, noting I seemed quiet. "Just tired from the trip," I told her. We went to bed. She fell asleep within minutes, unburdened by guilt. I stared at the ceiling until dawn. Sunday morning, I woke at 6:30. I showered, dressed in a button-down shirt and slacks. I wanted to look composed for what was coming. Jessica woke around 8, groggy and confused about why I was dressed up. "Going somewhere?" she asked. "You will see," I replied. At exactly 8:20, I heard a car pull up outside. At 8:30, the doorbell rang. Jessica, still in her pajamas, went to answer it. I stood at the base of the stairs watching. She opened the door to find a man in his 50s holding a manila envelope. "Jessica Martin?" he asked. "Yes. You have been served." He handed her the envelope and walked away. Jessica stood there confused, tearing open the envelope. I watched her face as she read the first page. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Her eyes widened. She looked up at me, papers shaking in her hands. "What is this, Avery? What is this?" Her voice climbed in pitch. I walked closer, my voice steady. "It is exactly what it looks like. I am divorcing you." She actually laughed, a nervous, disbelieving sound. "What? Because of the prank? Are you serious right now?" "It is not just the prank," I said calmly. "It is everything. The constant disrespect. The boundary violations. The fact that you posted that video after promising you would not. The fact that you have made me a spectacle for strangers online. I am done being your content, Jessica. Tears started streaming down her face. Avery, please. We can work this out. I will delete the video right now. I will stop the pranks. I promise. I shook my head. You have made that promise before, and it is too late. 300,000 people have already seen it, downloaded it, shared it. My boss saw it. My mother called me crying because she watched her son get handcuffed on the internet. Everyone I know has seen you laughing while I was humiliated. There is no deleting that. She sobbed harder. I am sorry. I did not think it would be this big a deal. And there it was again. You never think, Jessica. That is the problem. You never think about how your actions affect me. You only think about views and likes and followers. And I refuse to be married to someone who values strangers' attention more than her husband's dignity. Before she could respond, the doorbell rang again. This time when she opened it, 2 police officers stood there. Mrs. Jessica Martin, one of them asked. Yes. Her voice was barely a whisper. We have a summons for you to appear in court regarding false reporting to emergency services. He handed her another document. Jessica took it with trembling hands, her face pale. She turned to me, and for the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. You actually called the cops on me. You pressed charges. I picked up the duffel bag I had staged by the door. What you did was illegal. Not funny. Illegal. You wasted police resources. You endangered me. And you did it for entertainment. Yes, I pressed charges. Jessica stood in our entryway holding divorce papers in one hand and a court summons in the other, mascara running down her face. My lawyer will contact you about dividing assets, I said. Do not try to reach me directly. All communication goes through our attorneys now. I walked past her out the door and got into my car. As I pulled away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. She was standing in the doorway looking small and broken. But I felt nothing but relief. Over the next few weeks, everything unfolded quickly. The viral video brought massive backlash. Major brands that had been considering partnerships with Jessica withdrew their offers. Her TikTok account was reported thousands of times, resulting in a temporary ban. She had to hire a criminal defense attorney on top of a divorce lawyer. In court for the false reporting charge, the judge was not amused. Jessica received a fine of $1,800 and 40 hours of community service. Her online reputation, which she had worked so hard to build, crumbled. People made reaction videos criticizing her. Articles were written about the dangers of prank culture. She became an example of what not to do. 3 months after I served those papers, our divorce was finalized. Oregon law required a 90-day waiting period, and we used that time to negotiate assets. We split everything down the middle. I took one car, she took the other. We sold the house and divided the proceeds after paying off the mortgage. Retirement accounts were split according to state law. It was clean, efficient, and impersonal. Exactly what I needed. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Portland with exposed brick walls and large windows. The first few weeks were hard. I grieved the loss of 4 years, the death of the future I had imagined. Some nights I lay awake wondering if I had overreacted, if I should have given her another chance. But then I would remember her face at that window smiling while I was in handcuffs, and I knew I had made the right choice. My best friend Marcus was incredible during this time. He let me talk through everything without judgment. He reminded me that leaving a harmful situation is not failure. It is self-preservation. I started seeing a therapist named Dr. Patricia Reynolds. She specialized in emotional abuse and relationship trauma. Through our sessions, I began to understand that what Jessica had done was not just annoying or immature. It was abusive. She had repeatedly violated my boundaries, manipulated my emotions for her gain, publicly humiliated me, and showed no genuine remorse. Dr. Reynolds helped me see patterns I had ignored, red flags I had rationalized away. She taught me that boundaries are not about being difficult or sensitive. They are about self-respect. Slowly, I started rebuilding my life. I reconnected with hobbies I had abandoned during my marriage. I started playing guitar again, something I loved in college, but had stopped because Jessica said it was too loud. I joined a weekend hiking group and explored trails throughout the Columbia River Gorge. I read books again, real books, without worrying about someone filming my reactions for content. At work, I threw myself into projects and excelled. 6 months after the divorce, I was promoted to senior creative director with a significant raise. My boss told me I seemed different, more focused, more confident. I was. Looking back on my marriage, I can see clearly now what I could not see then. The red flags were there from the beginning. Jessica always needed external validation. She measured her worth by likes and comments from strangers. When social media became her obsession, I became secondary. She prioritized viral moments over genuine connection. I had tried to be understanding to support her dreams, but I confused support with accepting mistreatment. I learned that loving someone does not mean tolerating behavior that harms you. I learned that you can care about someone and still choose to walk away. The biggest lesson: love without respect is not really love at all. It is convenience. It is habit. It is comfort. But it is not the partnership that marriage is supposed to be. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone who refuses to see your worth. Your peace of mind is more valuable than anyone's amusement. If something hurts you, if someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, despite your clear communication, it matters. You are not overreacting. You are not being too sensitive. You are recognizing that you deserve better. I do not hate Jessica. Honestly, I feel sorry for her. She traded a stable marriage and a partner who loved her for views and likes that disappeared as quickly as they came. She lost someone who would have supported her through anything, if only she had valued that support. Her pursuit of internet fame cost her something real. As for me, I found myself again. About 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I met someone new at a friend's barbecue. I will not share her name because I learned my lesson about privacy. But she is kind, thoughtful, and deeply respectful of boundaries. She thinks the idea of pranking your partner for content is bizarre and cruel. We take things slowly. I am not rushing into anything. But for the first time in years, I feel optimistic about the future. I feel seen, heard, and valued. I feel like a partner, not a prop. That night on the lawn, handcuffed and humiliated while neighbors watched and my wife filmed, I thought my life was falling apart. The grass was cold and wet beneath me. The metal cuffs bit into my wrists. Red and blue lights painted everything in harsh, unforgiving colors. I felt smaller than I had ever felt, more exposed, more alone. But now, looking back with the clarity that only distance can bring, I realized something profound. My life was not falling apart. It was actually falling into place. Sometimes you have to lose everything to remember what you truly deserve. Sometimes the end of something painful is actually the beginning of something better. That terrible night was not my lowest point. It was my turning point. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like your boundaries did not matter? Where you were told you were too sensitive for having feelings? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and your stories matter. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more real stories about life, relationships, and finding yourself again after loss. Share this with anyone who might need to hear it. Sometimes one story can give someone else the courage to choose themselves. Thank you for listening to mine. I hope wherever you are, whatever you are facing, you remember that you deserve respect, dignity, and peace. Take care of yourselves out there.